Hey guys, I'm Lola, and I am with Zen Dog Training in Cheyenne, Wyoming now. Used to be in Oklahoma. We just moved to Cheyenne. This was supposed to have been a live feed, and I apologize for those of you that were watching for the live feed to show up. I tried to log into my Facebook account on my husband's computer so that I could do the live feed from there. And yeah, Facebook locked me out and it's not letting me back in, even on my phone. So I don't know what's going on with that. Once I get back in, I'll get this video posted. So let's talk about service dogs. So first of all, a little disclaimer here that other trainers may do things a little bit differently. They may have different rules, they may have different methods, different ways of doing things. So some of these questions are questions in regards to rules that trainers will put in place on their service dogs. I'm explaining things the way that I explain things. Secondly, you are more than welcome and encouraged to share this video because there's a lot of information in here because there are three different types of people that interact with service dogs. You've got your service dog handlers, people that are shopping for service dogs, people that are thinking about getting a service dog, need a service dog, or already have one. Then you've got your business owners, the people that they may own a business or they may manage a business somewhere where people are bringing service dogs in. And then you have the general public that may not have a whole lot of knowledge about service dogs, but they run into them at Walmart, they run into them at the grocery store, they run into them out and about in the park, in the mall, at the airport, all over the place. So there's etiquette for each of those people. If you're a service dog handler, your dog should be invisible. Your dog should not be pulling. Your dog should not be sniffing people. Your dog should not be pandering for attention. It should not be asking for food or to be pet. I can't tell you how many times people come in and they say, oh, well, my dog's already a service dog, but I want to go ahead and do some service dog training with you because we're having trouble with this or that, and it's things like the dog is overly excited when he sees children. So he goes running to every kid he sees or things like that. Now, for business owners, number one, don't harass people when they try to come in. If somebody comes in with a dog, their dog is well behaved, clearly marked as a service dog, they have every right to be there. The ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, protects them with now there are guidelines, but they do protect a person with a disability to be allowed to bring a dog into public with them. And it's not just anybody with a disability that has a dog. We'll go into that later. But if the person has a disability and their dog qualifies under the ADA guidelines as a service dog, then you cannot deny them access. That would be a discrimination case waiting to happen. It would be the equivalent of you saying, we don't allow people with wheelchairs in here, so you can't bring that dog in here. A service dog is legally classified under the federal guidelines as medical equipment. That being said, general public, leave service dogs alone. Stop trying to pet them. You wouldn't walk up to a person in a wheelchair and say, hey, your chair's really cool. Can I touch it? Can I spin the wheels on it? Can I lock your locks and see what happens? Can I mess with this? Can I push you for a minute? You wouldn't do that to a person in a wheelchair. A person with a service dog is a person with a disability who has a piece of medical equipment with them that just happens to be furry and cute. Leave it alone. If you wouldn't do it to a person's wheelchair, don't do it to a person's service dog. You wouldn't follow a person in a wheelchair around going, look how cute it is. Did you see it? Oh, look, I think they looked at me. You wouldn't do any of that stuff. Don't do it to a service dog. It's annoying. Handlers get mad. Then just leave them alone. So there's my little etiquette. So let's talk about the difference between a therapy dog, an emotional support animal, and a service dog. Number one, therapy dogs are dogs that go and visit hospitals, nursing homes. I work with private practice psychologists and psychiatrists that have therapy dogs that work in their office. I've worked with a couple of doctors' offices. There was a rheumatology office back in Tulsa that I worked with, and we trained a therapy dog for their office. This is the dog that's trained to be polite and gentle with people and is providing comfort for people all around them. And And so those dogs, they don't necessarily require training. There is no ADA guidelines for therapy dogs. There are organizations that if there's a specific hospital and you've got a really friendly dog, and let's say you want to go to the children's hospital where you're from, contact the children's hospital, ask them if they have a therapy dog program, and ask them what program they use. There's Delta Dogs, there's Therapy Dogs Inc., there's several nationwide, and I'm not up and up on that because I'm a private training organization. We privately train and certify therapy dogs through our training program here. It always comes with the disclaimer that that's not going to get you access to every hospital or every nursing home. In Oklahoma, I know the Tulsa SPCA, back when I was a kid, had a therapy dog program, and I used to take my dog and we would go around to nursing homes once a week and visit with the elderly people and things like that. So that's a therapy dog. A emotional support animal. The ADA does not provide public access rights to emotional support animals. I'm going to say that again. If you have an emotional support animal or a comfort animal, you do not have a service dog, and you do not have the right to take that animal out in public. Service dogs must be specifically task trained for their particular handler, and that task must mitigate a disability. Comfort is not a task. Making you feel comfortable, making you feel safe, making you feel calm, none of those are tasks. That is an emotional support animal. They have access rights to housing. So if you're going to be staying somewhere for longer than 30 days, you have the right to have an emotional support animal with you. Most places are going to require a doctor's note to verify that. Airlines were letting them fly for a while there, but I think that some things have changed on that. And that's dependent on each airline because, again, there's no training required for these dogs. So they were biting people. And so there's airlines that are requiring all dogs to be muzzled. There's all kinds of crazy requirements on them. A service dog, as I stated, is individually task trained for its owner. Being a person with a disability that has a dog does not make your dog a service dog. Being a person with a disability who has a dog who has been through obedience training or has gone online to usservicedogregistry.com and registered their service dog, it's not a service dog. So service dogs must be trained to assist in individual tasks. And we're going to go into what that is later in this video. So let's talk about some questions that I got. I got 3 of them here that kind of all go together. I got a doctor's note. Does that mean my dog is a service dog? No. Do I need a doctor's note for your program? No. Where do I go to get a doctor's note? No. So I'm a private training organization. I'm not a nonprofit. Some of the nonprofits may require a doctor's note. Me personally, I look at it as most of the people that I work with are, I have a lot of disabled veterans that I work with. And those of you that have ever been to the VA hospital and asked for paperwork for anything know that it is an absolute nightmare. So I don't require it. Children with disabilities, I work with a lot of kids with disabilities. My daughter has spina bifida. And so a lot of parents that have children with disabilities, they like working with me because I know what it's like to be a mom of a child with a serious medical condition. So it's something that I'm comfortable with. But what I don't want is for you to have to go to your doctor and convince them that, your pet dog is going to be a great service dog and that you've got a trainer that's going to train the dog, but you need a doctor's note. Doctors don't like signing off on that kind of stuff. There's so many scam programs out there that a lot of doctors just won't do it. And so I don't require it. People with disabilities, if you come in and you tell me I've got anxiety, I've got PTSD, or I've got hearing loss or diabetes or any of those things, no, I'm not going to require you to bring me a doctor's note in order to train a dog for you. Some organizations will. When they're a nonprofit and they have to prove where all of the funding went and all of these things and who they funded and all of that stuff, then yes, they probably will require a doctor's note. It's red tape. I don't like red tape, so I don't do it. Does the dog have to stay with you the whole time, or is the owner present for training? So we have a couple of different options because I'm a private organization. I am not a program. I don't have a breeding program where I take a litter of 8 puppies and train all 8 of them as service dogs or send them out to puppy raising classes or puppy raising homes or anything like that. I just don't. I breed litters very, very, very few and far between. The last litter of puppies that I bred was A little over a year ago, I bred a litter of Labradoodle puppies from a Labradoodle that we had bred to a full-blood poodle. So they were like F1B Labradoodle puppies. And out of the 8 puppies, 5 of them went through my service dog training. 2 of them, one went out of town to be a therapy dog for a grief counselor. And then another one went out of town to a pet home, and then another one went out of town to a pet home. But 5 of those dogs actually stayed in both my therapy dog and service dog training programs and are doing fantastic. But that's very rare. Before that, the last litter of puppies that I had was like 2014 or 15, one of the two. It's been a while. Let's see. So no, we don't provide them. We're an owner trained program. Generally, what that means is we meet with you for private lessons on a weekly or monthly basis. We can also do virtual lessons. I do require our intake lessons to be in person, and we do offer boarding. So if I have somebody that has like a severe physical handicap, we will board the dog for a period of time. Obviously, that will make your program cost a little bit more because I'm responsible for the dog's care, maintenance, all that stuff while they're with me. And I do have a background in behavior modification, so certain behavior problems we can work out before. If somebody has a dog that's in their home and it's overly hyperactive or it's boisterous or it's, little issues like that we can work on. And we will work with them. But 90% of the time, the dog stays with the owner the entire time. And I teach the handler how to train their dog and handle their dog out in public. So next question. I have been diagnosed with PTSD and depression. My dog makes me feel better and feel comfortable when I take him out in public. Why doesn't that make him a service dog? So the ADA specifically states in their guidelines that comfort is not a task. So it's just not a task trained dog. If your dog makes you feel comfortable, that's great. He can be great, well behaved out in public. Good on you for making sure he's well behaved out in public. But that's not enough to classify you as a service dog. So if you were to go and stay somewhere, for example, and they were to tell you, no, you can't bring that dog in here, then you would have no discrimination case against them. You would have no grounds to say, they discriminated against my service dog, because technically your dog doesn't qualify as a service dog. It has to be task trained. Which brings me to, I tried to group these questions to kind of go together. What tasks does a service dog for a veteran with PTSD do? So I work with a lot of veterans that have PTSD. Service dogs for veterans with PTSD is becoming a really common thing. It's really popular. Having a dog, it gives them a friend that, they can tell anything to the dog, and he's not going to go tell their secrets. He's not going to judge them. He's going to love them unconditionally, all of that kind of stuff. So you're seeing there's a lot of benefits there to these guys having these dogs. But what tasks do these dogs do? So when we're talking about an actual task trained dog, we can do alerts. So one of the things that we'll teach is we teach an anxiety alert. So everybody does something a little bit different. Some of these guys, beards are really popular right now. I see a lot of them will play with their beard. That's a really popular one. Tapping your foot. I don't know if you can see that. That's a really popular one. Some guys will start grinding or clenching their fists. Some guys will grind their teeth. That's a really hard one to train for, by the way. Facial expressions are really hard to train for. What I see in younger women more often is heavy breathing, hyperventilating. These are signs that a panic attack is coming, that an anxiety attack is coming. And what we do is we train the dog to recognize those symptoms and to alert to those symptoms, because 9 times out of 10, the person doesn't know that they're anxious until it's way too far gone, way too late. Now we've got a problem. I'm going to cut this video and do a part 2.